Back to another episode of Three Siblings Walk into a Bar. My name is Sage, and I am the middle sibling.
I'm Deshay, the oldest sibling.
The oldest of the old.
Literally. Oh, God.
So if we all seem a little low energy tonight, we're all literally like falling apart. So just don't judge us right now.
Mm-mm.
It's fine.
Mm-mm. My age is showing big
We're in
time.
our 30s, so everything is just literally falling apart as it's happening. So, jeez. How was y'all's Mother's Day?
It was good.
My Mother's Day was great.
Well, we got to be together for a little bit, so that was fun.
Yes.
Deshay, your husband, every year for Mother's Day, he tells me Happy Mother's Day, and he goes, wait, you're not a mother. But he tells me every single year that he tells me Happy Mother's Day. And I'm like, at this point, like, I'm kind of a mother. I have a cat and a dog. Like, we can make it work.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. I just say thank you at this point.
He is the person that is going to tell you Happy New Year in February. That is what he does.
He told me happy birthday on his birthday.
I am so bad at not like saying you too or like whatever. So when it's things like my birthday or like Mother's Day or like we have one male that works at my work.
Mm-hmm.
And he will literally go around and tell everybody Happy Mother's Day the Friday before Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And so he was like walking around and he was like, Happy Mother's Day. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, I don't have like a compliment or anything to give you back. So I feel weird. Just thank you, I guess.
It's hard to like just accept those sometimes. Like you feel like you have to say something back.
Yeah. I know.
But
I guess
also,
that,
like, what if, like, I thought
thing,
about
I think
this.
that's what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I thought,
and when they're like, you like sit down for your meal.
Mm.
Oh, what?
I thought about this yesterday. Like, when people were telling me Happy Mother's Day, it's like, like at the nail shop or whatever, because it's where I went yesterday. So what if they're not mothers? So it's like, I don't feel weird saying you too, and they're not mothers. Like, you don't know their story, right?
Exactly.
So I'm like, just thank you.
Or they just start crying because they want to be mothers, but they're not.
Yes.
And I'm like, I just can't.
Like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I say Happy Mother's Day to the people in my family. That's who I say.
Yeah, that I for sure know are mothers.
Exactly.
That's who I say Happy Mother's Day to.
Otherwise, no, it's not.
I know it's hard.
Put your foot in your mouth real quick.
That's for sure.
It's just like that one time when I was pregnant with Stinky. He was a really big baby,
and
me and Richard, I forgot where we went. Doesn't matter. It was a really long time ago. The lady was like, "Are you almost due?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got a little bit left, like a couple weeks." And she was like, "Are you having twins?" And I was like,
"Oh my God,
no, I'm not. I'm only having one." And the look on her face of like, I was like,
"That's
no,
why you just don't say shit."
Yeah, like and then me, just how I am, like now as like. Me now, I would have called her out and been like, that's really rude of you. You should absolutely not say that to people. But at the time, I was like trying to make her feel better. And I was like, it's okay. I mean, he's really big. He's going to be a really big baby. But now I would have been like, you should probably watch what you say to people. Say stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have to watch myself sometimes because I've become that like grumpy old man that like sits on the porch and tells the kids to get off of his lawn. Because I was in a drive-through not a while ago, and this girl was not having a good day, and she was not being nice. She was being very rude, like actively rude. And I get up to the window, and she's like still being rude. And I was like, sweetie, like I get that you had a bad day, but being mean to me is not going to change it. It's not going to fix it. So let's just squash this real quick.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. And I felt bad, but at the same time, like, if someone doesn't say it to her, she's just going to continue to
keep doing it. Yeah.
Right.
And also, I'm
Am I
like,
the
you're going to make
asshole?
somebody else's day shit. No, because you're going to make somebody else's day shitty when
Right.
they might have been having a good day and then you ruined it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Don't be an ass.
Yeah. And I felt like that was the nicest way to go about it instead of me yelling back at her. So,
Yeah.
Definitely.
I've just learned to
17-year-old
say that's
drive-through
very
kids.
rude of you.
Right.
Very rude of you.
That's very. Have you seen the soft parenting girl on TikTok?
Yes.
Yeah, where she's like,
Oh
this
my
is what I
God.
thought soft parenting was going to be like. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good. Like the bartender and the TSA agent. Oh, she's so funny to me. It's so
I haven't
good.
seen the TSA agent.
No, I haven't either.
All of them are exactly the same, but like she just, I don't know where she gets this from. She has to be like a teacher or something. Like she has to hear this all day long. She has to know. It's so wild to me.
Oh yeah. I like to watch, there's this girl and she's like, she goes soft parenting your racist aunts at Christmas, or like soft parenting, and then she'll be like, I know we have strong feelings, but we are not allowed to talk to cousin Sue's boyfriend like that.
Yes.
You really need to apologize.
Yes.
They have feelings too. It's so funny. I'm like, sometimes I think those people need it more than the kids do.
I always think of like a kindergarten teacher because she's like, catch a bubble, let me speak. And I'm like, damn, girl. I like sometimes you feel like you do, like you have to speak to some people that way. It's so wild to me.
Yes.
It's so crazy. Oh. So this week I thought I'd do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
You guys like scary stories?
Duh.
Like nighttime scary stories, I guess.
Crying. Just ignore me.
So I thought of you when I heard this one specifically, Storm, because it has to do with sleep. And
shit!
I know you have issues with sleep. So I was a little worried about it when I was reading it, but this is
fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, this is a very. I'm assuming it's a well-known horror story. It's one of the creepypastas, I think. Lots of people have heard it. Lots of people know about it. This one in particular, to me, is the first time I ever saw it, I saw a picture from the creepypasta, and I happened to have the statue that was in that picture. This guy.
Of course you do.
Right here.
No.
That's Benjamin.
Go back to his hole.
I have had him for
Ever.
like 10 years now, like over 10 years.
Longer than that.
And and I never knew that he was like from something. So this has always fascinated me because I don't know if like the person who wrote this like saw that thing and was like, I know exactly what happened, or like if they made this because of that or what. But I've had this thing for a very long time. So this story has always been really fascinating to me. Have you guys ever heard of the Russian sleep experiment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kinda.
I know of it. I don't know.
I know. Same. I don't know all the details.
So
I know that I'm gonna hate it.
Yeah, basically. When I was going back to like tell this story again, I went back and reread it, and I didn't know I had forgotten some of the details of it. So we're getting back into it.
Oh boy.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right, so Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so that the gas did not kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before they had closed circuit cameras, so they only had microphones, and they had 5-inch thick glass porthole sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. So they can hear them, but they can't really see them. It's kind of like shadows of
I
it,
would. How
basically.
are how are they not panicking? I would be panicking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the chamber was stocked with books and cots to sleep on, but there was no bedding. So if they did actually want to go to sleep, they were like, you can go to sleep, but you're not getting anything. They had running water, a toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 of them for over a month. All of the test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II.
Wow. Okay.
Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, because they had been promised falsely that if they went through these tests for the 30 days, that they would be free. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past. And the general tone of their conversations took a darker aspect after the day 4 mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they are now. And they all started to demonstrate severe paranoia.
Yeah.
So they stopped talking to each other, and alternately, they began whispering into the microphones and one of the mirrored portholes.
Oh, no.
No.
I hate it.
Oddly, they all seemed to think that they could win the trust of their experimenters by turning on their comrades, the other subjects that they were in captivity with. At first, the researchers suspected that it was the effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber repeatedly, yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight.
Oh my
At
gosh.
which point he continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks.
Oh, no.
The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords.
Oh my God.
The most surprising thing about this was how the other captives reacted, or rather, didn't react to it at all.
What?
They all continued to whisper into the microphones until the second of the captives started screaming. The 2 non-screaming captives took the books apart and smeared page after page with their own feces and pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. The screaming promptly stopped, and so did the whispering into the microphones.
Oh no. Oh, I hate everything about it. Oh Lord.
After 3 days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure that they were still working, since they thought that it was impossible that there was no sound coming from a room with 5 people inside of it. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that the 5 were still alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume in a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. But there is no sound coming out of there. So the researchers are freaked out right now. So on the 14th day, the researchers did something that they said that they would never do to get a reaction out of the captives. They used an intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the people, because they were afraid that they were either dead or just like vegetables. They announced, "We're coming into the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom." To their surprise, they hear a calm voice respond with a single phrase: "We no longer want to be freed."
Oh my God.
Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided that they would open the chamber on midnight of the 15th day. So the chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices begging, as if pleading for the lives of their loved ones, to turn the gas back on.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
The chamber was opened, and the soldiers were sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream even louder, and the soldiers also began to scream. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could really rightly call the state that they were in life. The food rations past 5 days had not been touched. There were chunks of meat and there were chunks of meat from the dead test subject's thigh and chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate in the floor. Precisely how much water on the floor, how much of the liquid on the floor was actually water or blood was never determined.
Oh my God. Oh.
No.
All 4 surviving test subjects had large portions of their muscle and skin torn away from their bodies.
What? Oh my God.
What?
The destruction of flesh and bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand and not by teeth, as the researchers had initially thought.
Oh my God, I'm gonna throw up.
So they were literally just like pulling their skin off?
On closer examination, the position and the angle of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted.
Oh,
what the actual fuck? Like, what the actual fuck?
It gets worse.
Oh no!
How?
They were so quiet. They were so quiet.
Worse.
So their mates are literally sitting there ripping their skin and muscle off. Just
no reaction.
No reaction.
Yeah. The abdominal organs below the rib cage on all 4 test subjects had been removed.
What?
While the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place, the skin and most of the muscle that was attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the rib cage.
How are they alive?
All of their blood vessels and organs remained intact, but they had been taken out and laid on the floor. Fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects.
Odd.
Yeah.
Wow.
What? So just to paint that picture, they're still fully alive. Most of their muscle and skin is gone, and all of their organs from here are laid out all over the floor. There's 4 people, and all of their organs are just all over the place.
House of 1,000 Corpses.
Yes.
Yeah. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that they were digesting their own flesh that they had ripped off of their body and eaten for days.
Oh my God.
No.
Whew. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many of them refused to return into the chamber to remove the test subjects. The subjects themselves continued to scream to be left in the chamber and begged and demanded for the gas to be turned back on so that they would not fall asleep.
No.
All right, so these are basically bodies that have been completely taken apart at this point. And they're sitting there screaming that they don't want to fall asleep, and they want them to turn the gas back on and leave them alone, let them back how they were. So to everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of beginning to remove them from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out, and another one was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by the subject's teeth.
Oh
Absolutely
my
not.
God, Sage.
I'm like, they're
No.
like not even real bodies anymore. How are they
How
attacking
is this
people?
Right.
happening?
How
Yeah.
is this happening?
Yeah.
Put a muzzle on them.
Right. Um, another of the another of the 5 soldiers lost their lives if you count the ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident.
Yeah.
So what they
Mm-mm.
saw was so hard for them that they weren't able to live anymore. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured and bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but it proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and the arm of one doctor. His heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out, to the point that there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone that reached for him, repeating the word "more" over and over again, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent.
That's
I'm like
insanity.
shaking right now. I've been
That is
listening to this story
insanity.
all day, and I'm still
Oh my
shaking.
God.
Oh
No.
God.
Mm-mm.
The 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility, the 2 with intact vocal cords constantly begging for the gas and demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject for his organs to be placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative that they were trying to give him to prepare for surgery.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
He fought furiously against the restraints, and the anesthetic gas was brought out. When the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under, he managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even through the weight of a 200-pound soldier holding that wrist.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It took only a little more of the anesthetic than normal to put him under, and instantly his eyelids started to flutter and close, and his heart stopped. In the autopsy
Mm-mm.
of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had triple the normal level of oxygen. The muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in the struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force of his own muscles. He broke his own bones from his own muscles.
Wow.
It's making my
No.
forehead uncomfortable. I gotta touch it. I'm like, oh my God.
Mm-mm. Yeah, this is not. Mm-mm.
Oh, just like buckle up, because it keeps going.
Stop.
This is too
Do you want me to
much.
do you want me to throw up?
I've been listening to this all day. This is this is a lot.
Oh Lord.
Oh my God.
All right. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. So his vocal cords were completely destroyed, and he was unable to beg or object for the surgery. He only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested reluctantly that they should try the surgery without anesthetic. And he did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what skin remained.
Oh my God, I'm gonna throw up.
The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should not be medically possible that they are still alive. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers.
Ew, that would be creepy.
Yeah. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming that it was something that was very important, of drastic importance, the surgeon grabbed a pen and paper and gave it to the patient. And he wrote on there, it was very simple. He wrote, "Keep cutting."
Oh, no.
The other two test subjects were given the same surgery, but without anesthetic as well. They had to be injected with a paralytic during the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously.
That's disturbing.
Oh,
how do you
this is making
do
me very
that?
uncomfortable.
What the fuck?
Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short amount of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment that they could speak, they were speaking about trying to get back into the gas. The researchers tried asking why they injured themselves and why they ripped out their own guts and why they wanted the gas again. And the only response that was given was, "I must stay awake."
I think they're going to die.
Right.
Yeah.
All three subjects' restraints were reinforced as they were placed back into the chamber, awaiting determination as to what they were going to do with them. The researchers were facing the wrath of the military benefactors for having failed of their stated goals of their project, considering euthanizing the subjects, and they even considered euthanizing the subjects. The commanding officer and ex-KGB instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they put them back into the gas.
Stop.
Oh my God. They're just playing with them.
Yeah. The researchers strongly objected, but it was all overruled by the commander. In preparation for being sealed back into the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all three of them stopped struggling the moment that it let slip that they were going back into the gas. It was obvious at this point, all three of them were putting up a very severe struggle to stay awake. They were all trying everything they could to stay awake. One of the subjects that could still speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all of his might. First left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off of his pillow and blinking rapidly.
Oh God. Poor guys.
Having been the first to be wired to the EEG machine, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but they flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering brain death, but then easily returning back to normal.
That's crazy.
As they focused on the paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one of the nurses saw the man's eyes slip shut at the same moment that his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep and then flatlined for the last time, and his heart simultaneously stopped. So he fell asleep and died.
So he literally died when he fell asleep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in right now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the one that had died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between his eyes, and turned the gun to the mute and shot him in the head as well. He pointed the gun at the remaining subject and that was still restrained on the bed, as the other research members were fleeing. "I won't be locked in here with these things, not with you," he screamed as the man was strapped to the table. "What are you?" he demanded. "I must know." The subject smiled. "Have you forgotten so easily?" the subject asked. "We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate in silence and paralyze when you go to sleep." The researcher paused and aimed his gun at his heart and fired. The EEG machine flatlined, and the subject weakly choked out, "So nearly free."
Oh,
Ew. That was
God.
the absolute most disgusting thing in the entire world.
Oh
Terrifying.
God.
That was horrific.
It was bonkers. And I didn't realize that, like, yeah, I had
And
never known.
as silly as this sounds, it's like one of those where it's like so not hard to believe because you hear the horrific things that the Nazis did. Where it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
did they really do this? Like, is this
Right.
based off a true story? Like,
Right.
Probably.
Which,
like, at this point, it very possibly could, but at the same time, my like artist brain is trying to like break it down to like the deep spiritual meaning of it and shit like that. Like, intrusive thoughts was the main thing that kept coming to my mind. Like,
yeah.
that's the main thing that kept coming. But it obviously, they were so paranoid from the gas. I think that they were at the beginning of the experiment. They were told, like, if you don't fall asleep, you'll be free. And then they became so paranoid while they were in there that they were like, "I can't fall asleep." And they were doing literally anything they could to not fall asleep.
That's just horrible.
Oh my God, I hate it.
Absolutely horrible.
When people are like, "I haven't slept in 48 hours," and then you start seeing stuff and
yeah,
sorts of crazy shit.
Yeah, so they said after the fifth day was when the screaming started.
Could you imagine screaming like that?
No.
And I'm thinking, like, my kids are screaming for like a minute, and I'm like, will y'all stop screaming? Can y'all find somewhere else to go scream?
Yeah.
I can't imagine sitting in there listening to someone scream for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I'd be like, dude, shut the hell up.
Yeah. And apparently he just like started screaming at the top of his lungs and was running back and forth and for 3 hours.
Absolutely not. For 3 hours. I can barely get up and walk up and down for 3 hours.
Exactly.
Let alone screaming and running.
Right. So they had to have seen something in there. They had to have.
Yes, and that's probably number one while they weren't trying to fall asleep.
Right. Because I don't know if it really works this way, but I would assume it's kind of like the mob mentality kind of thing. Like if you're in a place with 4 or 5 people and you all start to go insane and be paranoid at the same time, don't you think like they would start to like share hallucinations and stuff?
Probably.
I would assume. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
makes
I
sense.
always thought about that because like some people have like the same imaginary friends.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, maybe they've said something. Maybe they don't actually like. Maybe they didn't actually think of the exact same thing. You know what I mean? But like somebody could have been like, this thing in the corner, and then they're all imagining this thing, but it's all different. Like you ever heard the theory of is like we all see colors as different.
Yes.
Like this is yellow, but like your yellow could be blue to you, like my blue. So maybe it's like they're thinking of the same creature, but it's different.
And the weird thing is that it says that they stopped talking to each other. They stopped talking to each other. So like, even if they were seeing things and they weren't telling each other about it. because they were turning on each other and they were trying to like the creepiest thing to me is I just imagine this like window and then someone comes up and is like whispering into it. It's just the weirdest, creepiest thing to me.
Mm-mm.
If they were ever like, Storm, it's your turn to go check, I'd be like, absolutely freaking not.
Yeah, no,
absolutely freaking not. No.
Mm-mm.
And I want to know what they were like whispering into the microphones. Like, were they like telling on the other people? Like,
Johnny's stupid.
Exactly.
Yeah. Before we got in here, I knew that Johnny, I don't know.
It's like confessions
I'm like,
and stuff.
I don't know what they would. Yeah, like real world.
Real world. Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's fucked up.
Oh my gosh, the most effed up real world of all time.
And I don't know, it's just so wild to me. Like they had to have seen something, or there like was something going on with their sleep, and it was like the gas.
Yeah. Listen, the mind is powerful.
Oh,
so scary.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
It's also crazy too that they like were like running around and everything. And then when they covered up the window, that's when they were like, all right, I'm going to sit here and like
rip off.
What? Like, is it like the thought that you knew somebody was staring at you that made you not be able to like?
So
I don't know.
My theory on that, because I was thinking about that as well, is like they covered up the window and they're like, this isn't about you anymore. Like this is just us. Like this is how this is going. Yeah. And we want to be able to like just live how we're going to live now.
Yeah. Like they didn't want them to pull them out early or whatever.
They were slowly eating themselves to stay awake. But it took, hold on. So the screaming stopped after like the 6th day and they went in on the 14th. So like a full week, 4 people were laying in bed eating themselves.
That's so gross.
And then they put up such a fight that they killed people and broke bones on people when they were trying to be taken out.
Yeah.
Like, how do you have so much strength? Like, the adrenaline that they must have, being like the fear of death.
Yes.
Or, like the fear of going to sleep.
It was pure fear at that point. Because they were trying, it even said like they were restrained, but they were trying so hard to stay awake.
That's some crazy pants.
Oh my god, I don't know how I'm gonna go to sleep now.
I imagine that is what they looked like when they put them back.
Absolutely.
Well, back together because they didn't have so much skin, so they didn't
have enough skin, so their organs are in their bodies, but they're just like strapped up.
Oh my god, that's disgusting.
And they didn't eat, so I guess they did eat, just not like nutritious, delicious food.
Exactly. Yeah. This one was.
Well, don't they say too that like some animals, if they eat, like if you're a cannibal, it'll make them go insane.
Yes.
So I'm assuming eating themselves made them go.
What's that Ethan Hawke vampire movie where the vampires start eating themselves?
Daybreaker.
Yeah. The vampires there's a shortage on human blood, so the vampires start eating themselves and they become these like feral like creatures, like bat creatures. And that, I think that might be like what was happening. They were becoming these like monsters. So if they did put them back in the gas and let them continue, would it be like would they have like grown a creature like out of the 4 of them with their organs and stuff? Like,
oh, maybe be able to like combine together.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I keep imagining Hellraiser, but I think it was just because it was so gnarly.
Well, good job, but
that was good. That was gonna give me nightmares now.
I've been listening to this story. There's someone else that was telling it, and I've been listening to it to kind of refresh my mind on it. And the first time I heard it, I had to stop and like sit down and make sure that that's what he was saying. And I was like, all right, yep, this is happening.
That was horrific. I hated it.
Mm-mm.
So it was
Now I
gross
gotta
and
go tell
disgusting.
somebody about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come in and call and be like, oh my God, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And it's technically a creepypasta, but like you said, like back then in the 40s, World War II, I wouldn't put it past a lot
I
of things
wouldn't
that
either. I wouldn't either. Yeah.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised to find out some version of that happened.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I used to have to turn off I think they still play them all the time on the History Channel, but they like the Nazi, I think it's
Yeah.
just called Nazi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they would talk about all the things that they would do. And I couldn't, I'm like, that is just absolutely awful
Mm-mm.
and horrific. And I cannot, and it's crazy to me the amount of people that just were like doing it.
Yes.
Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how could you think, you know what I want to do? I really want to prove this, but I have to torture people and like completely, like, I couldn't imagine.
Mm-mm.
Like, there's nothing that I want to know enough to treat somebody like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and a lot of it was like, it was to be used to like weaponize things. And that's why they were doing this research. So it was probably a stimulant to keep soldiers awake.
Yeah.
Well, and you know,
I
I
don't know.
always just find this interesting. You know that he was trying to breed animals to get dinosaurs
Mm-hmm.
back.
What?
Yeah. He had like this whole section. I forgot what country it was in, but he had this whole section of like forestry. And he had hired all these, or I guess not hired, forced all these scientists, and they were like breeding, crossbreeding and stuff to try to get dinosaurs back to life.
Mm-mm.
That's not even, that like doesn't surprise me at all, which is the real sad part.
Yeah.
The real sad part.
Wow. Well, I don't know how I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to find something to watch.
I know. Like, and Richard's out of town, so I'm quite literally going to have to like turn on Cocomelon. I'm going to be like, Pluto, love me. I got all snuggly.
Yeah. Benjamin just jumped.
Stop.
What the fuck?
Off of the bed.
Stop it. Stop it.
I'm leaving.
That's a lip.
Stop.
I'm
That's
not
fucking...
lying to you.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
No.
Well, I'm glad he's over there with you. He can stay over there.
Oh my
he is
God.
uninvited from my house. You are not allowed over here.
No.
I'm a little freaked out right now.
Ugh. Now I just got the heebie-jeebies again.
I'm sweating.
No.
All right.
Okay.
Ooh, okay. Well, on that note, Storm, where can they find the rest of our ramblings?
We are on Facebook, Three Siblings Walk Into a Bar. We are on Instagram at Three Swift Podcast. Go on there, like, comment, do all the things. Please rate and review. It's super, super helpful for us. And YouTube, go watch us on YouTube. And yeah.
Well, that's what happens when three haunted siblings walk into a bar.